Bienvenue dans Décryptage, édition qui reçoit aujourd'hui Ronnie Ntuli, fondateur et président exécutif du groupe Thelo, en marge du premier Forum Afrique-Caraïbes sur le commerce et l'investissement, organisé du 1er au 3 septembre 2022 à Bridgetown, à la Barbade. Ronnie Ntuli nous parle des activités du groupe Thelo pour promouvoir le commerce et l'investissement en Afrique. Merci Monsieur Ronnie Ntuli d'être présent sur Africa 24. Vous avez participé au premier Forum Afrique-Caraïbes sur le commerce et l'investissement organisé à la Barbade sous le thème « Un peuple, un destin, unis et réinventer notre avenir ». Selon vous, que doivent faire les gouvernements pour passer de la parole aux actes dans la dynamisation des échanges entre l'Afrique et les Caraïbes?
I think being here and having this forum organized by Afreximbank and the government of Barbados and CARICOM is already an indication of going beyond talking to actual action. You will know, obviously, as well as I do, that pulling something like this together, all the nation states of CARICOM at the level of head of state that are present here, I think is already seminal. I think the intention to work with Africa and the diaspora is a big step forward in itself. As a starting point, I think we should all celebrate the fact that we're all here together. So that's the first. The second is, I think collectively we recognize the opportunity of the African people and people in the diaspora and its people in the diaspora coming together, not only as a result of the historical affiliation, but starting to look at trading and investing amongst each other, I think is a huge step forward. So we should celebrate that. And there's, I think, a lot of discussion around actual tangible opportunities between the two regions that are being discussed, and I have no doubt that they'll be actioned.
Vous êtes le fondateur et le président exécutif du groupe Thelo, une société d'investissement indépendante et diversifiée basée en Afrique du Sud et spécialisée dans les secteurs du transport et des services financiers. Parlez-nous de votre groupe et de ses objectifs.
So Thelo Group is an African industrial group. Our intention is to create mobility on the continent of Africa. What do we mean by mobility? If you look at from a development point of view, one of the important development tools in any region is transportation, mobility. And you'll recognize as a fellow African that our transportation infrastructure and systems within countries and within regions and more broadly within the continent are in today's world substandard. If you look at the landmass of the continent, we think that there's a big opportunity to develop transportation infrastructure, particularly railways. The continent of Africa is a very big landmass. We trade in most part bulk commodities for export, agricultural and mineral, and we import fuel and containers, so to say, over very long distances. Railway, we believe, is the real proposition. So our group is mainly focused on very large railway projects across the continent of Africa.
Lors du Forum Afrique-Caraïbes sur le commerce et l'investissement, votre groupe a signé un accord de gestion ferroviaire avec le gouvernement du Ghana en faveur du projet Western Railway Line. En quoi consiste ce projet et que peut-on attendre de ce partenariat?
So yes, you're right. We signed a sizable transaction with the government of Ghana, a $3.2 billion opportunity to invest and upgrade the Ghanaian railway system, the Western Railway Corridor in particular, which, if you know, Ghana is a very strategic corridor for freight. We didn't sign it here, we signed it in Accra, but the news came out recently, and I think this conference also got sort of wind of that. It's a strategically important signature and project, consequentially. The project is really to develop and upgrade the Western Railway Line corridor to standardize all the systems, both from an infrastructure point of view, or as we call it in the industry, below rail and above rail. So infrastructure, signaling, rolling stock. Very importantly for us to create capacity, create Ghanaian capacity in that a big part of what we need to do with the project is to train people to be able to be involved in the operations and maintenance and the development of the project, obviously, in the Republic of Ghana. So very exciting project for us. We are grateful that the government of Ghana agreed to work with us for a period of 25 years to implement this strategically important project, not only for Ghana, we believe, but for the West Africa region. For the continent also, it's a very new model in that it's ring-fenced from a financing point of view. It's project financed. It's not encumbering the balance sheet of the government of Ghana. It's anchored on the freight, so to say. And the model and the structure ensures that the government of Ghana retains ownership of the infrastructure during the development and post-development and after the 25 years, consequentially, when we've left.
Qu'est-ce qui a motivé ce projet? Pourquoi le choix du Ghana?
Look, we are firm of the view that it's a solution that's required across the continent, firstly. Not just to construct the infrastructure, but to think of it as a long-term project, to operationalize it and to sweat the asset and to make sure that the resultant debt that will be borrowed to develop the project is serviced. So our outlook as an African company is very different. We're not there just to build a project and walk away. We are there to work with the governments that we work with for the long term. So Ghana fascinatingly saw the proposition and supported that we work with them on this. And we're very fortunate also to have the support of critical institutions like the Africa Export-Import Bank, the African Development Bank, and other financial institutions that have recognized the model and want to support the model. Why Ghana? The government of Ghana has been incredibly receptive, we must say. They've been very innovative and willing to listen to new models of structuring and partnering and operationalizing the project. We are, in fact, in discussions with other governments today. It is that in Ghana we are implementing the first mega project, so to say. But our company is busy in other markets. We have trains already that operate in places like Swaziland, Mozambique, Zambia, Tanzania. We're quite active in South Africa, in the South African market. We have a number of opportunities where we're supporting the rail operators in that market as well.
Que fait le groupe Thelo pour soutenir le commerce et les investissements par le biais de la ZLECAf, la zone de libre-échange continentale africaine?
So as we've mentioned, we're already supporting railways in the railway companies in countries like South Africa, Swaziland, Mozambique, Tanzania, Zambia. We're in discussions with a number of other countries because we're still in discussions and we haven't finalized agreements to do mega projects. I can't say which countries at this stage, but those announcements will come as well. Some of those discussions are fairly advanced. And yeah, Ghana, we've reached agreement. And for us, the big important thing is, with relevance to the question you're asking about the AFCFTA, is that we want to support the development of railway corridors that are operational, but also that serve as the backbone for regional integration. So while you can start in one country, there's an opportunity to expand railway networks into regions. There are countries where we're having discussions today where it's more than one country, so that already is an integrated regional project. So those discussions we're having. And we're firm of the view that those projects, because it creates the ability at times for countries that don't have access to ports, it allows them to have access to the ocean, as one example. But in the future, I think what is important for us as an African company is not only to provide access to port. In the future, we have to support industrialization in that we have to develop railway networks that go from one point on the continent of Africa to another point on the continent of Africa where there's industrial processing, for example, not just to emphasize exporting raw minerals or raw agricultural produce.
Quelle est votre vision pour le secteur privé dans l'opérationnalisation de la ZLECAf?
From our point of view, we think that railways form an integral part of the backbone that will enable trade within the continent and internationally. So we think that as we see it, we think that we certainly support the intention of growing that intra-Africa trade number beyond the 15% that we talk about today. We have to, you need the trade enabling infrastructure, and that's what we're doing.
Comment l'Afrique peut-elle tirer parti de plateformes telles que le Forum Afrique-Caraïbes sur le commerce et l'investissement pour accélérer sa croissance économique?
If you look, I think what we're doing by being present here is saying the Africa community. And when we say the Africa community, or the African community, however you want to put it, now we're saying beyond the geography of Africa, there is a big number of African descendants that are domiciled outside of the continent, the diaspora. I think what we're doing is really expanding. We already have a sizable potential consumer base, young for that matter, the biggest free trade area in terms of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which is, I'm advised, that at circa 1.3 billion people, accessing the Caribbean and other diaspora proverbially expands that. And I think, so therefore, if we're talking about a free trade area agreement and the ability to produce, you are accessing a much larger market than just your own domestic in-country market, so to say. So it gives, in real terms, domestic African industry and international industry that sets up on the continent. It gives it an opportunity to access a really large market size, which is Africa, the primary continent, the motherland as we call it, and the African diaspora in many ways.
Monsieur Ronnie Ntuli, fondateur et président exécutif du groupe Thelo, merci d'avoir honoré notre invitation. Merci à vous d'avoir suivi ce décryptage. Restez sur Africa 24 pour les prochaines éditions.